Thank you. Mr. Louis Ng.
Sir, I thank Min Ong for responding to my budget speech. Can I ask if the 360 review will be made available to all public servants and how regular this will be done? Can Minister also respond to the idea of an internal QSM? I do thank Min Ong also for sharing that all public officers can speak up without fear of getting into trouble. And I'm keen to be part of the solution, which is why I spent the past year meeting, listening to, and working with public officers, and now share their concerns with everyone. And I'll take Min Ong's advice and will be more careful about generalization of public officers. So I also wholeheartedly thank Min Josephine, for announcing the additional 4 weeks of unpaid leave.
Sorry, no speech, please.
For parents of multiples or preterm baby, this means a lot. But can I ask whether there are plans to legislate this? I also have to add that after looking after twins for a year, there's no way we'll have 7 kids.
The 360-degree feedback today has been implemented quite broadly across senior officers. PSD in the next 2-3 years will extend it to all senior officers. But 360 is largely a developmental tool, 360 feedback appraisal. So I don't think it's useful to extend it to all public officers, but certainly to senior officers who are leaders, who has to work with people around them, up, sideways, down. This is useful for them. But the issue is not really 360 feedback as a mechanism, but to make sure the public service and also the individual agencies have a culture of wanting to do better, embracing change, prepared to be innovative, and to have people who does this in the right spirit, that when there's a big change, they try to support it, or if they can't support it, they get out of their way, or if they have totally different ideas, be able to voice them out, debate, come to a resolution, and then support the direction forward. And I think this is really about building that right organization culture. So likewise, it's not really about whether you have an internal QSM or not, but whether the organization believes in engaging its people. And I do think, I agree with Mr. Louis Ng, that all public agencies ought to engage their people. And all public agencies today, they do conduct staff engagement survey periodically. And in that process, you do have to engage your people. So this is very much encouraged. And finally, I thank Mr. Louis Ng for acknowledging that making sweeping generalization statements on public service is not helpful. So let's work together and let's all be part of the change and part of the transformation. But since I'm at the podium, Mr. Chairman, I realized I did not quite answer one of Ms. Sylvia Lim's clarification just now in one of her cut, where she mentioned during the Administration of Justice Protection Bill, a petition filed on the bill was, I quote her, somehow not sent to the Public Petitions Committee. So I thought better clear the air and what somehow really meant. This is, if members recall, 2016. First reading was July, I think July 10th. Second reading, 15 August 2016. I checked, this is the correct date. The petition was filed on the 10th of August 2016, 5 days before second reading. So if it has come to the House on the second reading, it would have been referred to the next sitting. But then it would have been moot because we would have already had the second reading debate. And therefore, if members remember, a motion was therefore tabled to refer the petition to Parliament as part of the second reading debate, and instead of sending to the Public Petition Committee. And so a general assent was called. Everyone agreed. Everyone in the House agreed. And we had a full debate. Mr. Kok Heng Loon, who filed the petition, and Ms. Sylvia Lim was also present. And Ms. Sylvia Lim had a full speech, many clarifications, long debate, I remember, and then also voted on the bill. So the process is transparent and open. I thought it's good to clarify this.
Mr. Louis Ng asked whether the unpaid leave for unplanned emergencies can be legislated. In fact, legislation is always an option. we legislated paternity leave. But as Mr. Seah Kian Peng pointed out, even with legislation, how is it that the utilization is only 46%? When you consider that South Korea legislates paternity leave, in fact, of a much longer duration than we have, the utilization is, if I'm not mistaken, just about 2%. So the real question is not whether we can or cannot legislate. The real question is why it is that even with legislation, utilization is not always 100%. And I think that has got to do with the fact that at workplaces, people do not always feel that they can use their entitlements. And that also has got to do with culture, whether there is a comfort that there will be no pushback from the employers, that performance appraisal is not impacted, that co-workers are not unhappy because you go away. And these things don't happen overnight. They take time to change. And so what we have attempted to do is to say that when there is a new leave type, perhaps we start with a tripartite standard first. Let the employers who are ready and willing to come on board, and then expand this group. Because what you really need to do is to promote a new culture. And this culture of support is harder to try and bring about, but it is the right thing to do.